Good evening and welcome to Brown University. My name is Molly and I am the Chief of Staff of the Undergraduate Council of Students for this school year. The Undergraduate Council of Students, or UCS, is Brown's student government. We are a body of representatives from all 4 undergraduate classes who come from diverse backgrounds and areas of study to work collectively on short-term and long-term goals. We work in tandem with students, administrators, and other university officials to pursue student interests and improve the student experience. In the past, UCS has undertaken several projects and pushed for many initiatives and changes that have positively affected student life at Brown. At the onset of the current academic year, UCS launched a project to supply free menstrual hygiene products in all non-residential women's, men's, and gender-inclusive bathrooms across campus. This project is a student effort and is still completely student-run. UCS also proposed and successfully launched a project to translate critical university documents and announcements into other principal languages, facilitating accessibility for parents and families who speak a language other than English at home or have first languages other than English. As part of our goals for this year, we have prioritized sexual assault prevention and mental health. We aim to increase awareness within the student body of the resources available on campus, while also supporting communication among students about the importance of creating a culture of consent. In the sphere of mental health, we are looking to push for more care providers and greater emphasis on intersectional approaches in responding to students' needs. Several of our upcoming projects will also increase support for low-income students and families. We look forward to a productive year working with students, administration, and other university community members to bring these goals to fruition. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you one of the university leaders with whom UCS is very fortunate to work, President Christina Paxson, Professor of Economics and Public Policy and current President of Brown University. Since assuming the role of president in 2012, she has led Brown in the implementation of innovative projects such as Building on Distinction, a strategic plan dedicated to addressing and overcoming the challenges involved in the expansion and advancement of pedagogy here at Brown. She has also supported endeavors to render the university more equitable and responsible, such as the Diversity and Inclusion Action Plan, which is a campus-wide effort to create a more diverse, inclusive, and just community here at Brown. The plan aims to help Brown serve as a leader in promoting this kind of community. President Paxson's most recent research focuses on the relationship of economic factors to health and welfare over the course of life. She is a member of the American Economic Association and currently serves on the board of directors of the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. Please join me in welcoming President Christina Paxson.
Thank you so much, Molly, and good evening. Welcome to Family Weekend. It's great to see all of you here. It's wonderful to see so many Brown families reuniting with their students after maybe not too long, but maybe it felt like a long time. Your presence here is welcome. I know many of you traveled long distances to get back to Brown. And as always, Family Weekend is just this wonderful reminder that Brown really is a family affair, and we want to include all of our families as part of the community. There is a lot going on this weekend. We have a very busy schedule. I hope you all have seen it. And I know you want to spend time with your students, probably first and foremost, but we also have a full slate of programs and events, opportunities for you to really get a sense of what it's like here at Brown. Everything from a musical keynote performance by John Pizzarelli and Jessica Mlaski right after my talk, right back there. You can just turn around to see it. To a conversation on the upcoming American election, to a peek at the possibility of interstellar life. And of course, I invite all of you to come to the stadium tomorrow to watch Brown beat Cornell in football. So, I hope that this weekend just gives you a real authentic glimpse of what life is like at Brown each and every week. But before you start taking it all in, I thought I'd share with you the Brown that I've come to know, and the Brown whose students and faculty just dazzle me every single day, the Brown that's doing amazing scholarship, that's advancing knowledge, and the Brown with this wonderfully spirited community that is just terrifically inspirational. Now, I know that you've learned a lot about Brown. You know, many of you are parents of first-year students, but you've been here for campus tours, perhaps. You've been here for drop-off, perhaps. I hope that you have learned something from Brown from at least occasional calls or texts from your students. But I think it's a good time to step back and consider questions like, you know, what is Brown really about? And why is it special? And how is it that your children chose Brown? And how will it shape their lives? You know, the work of kind of getting your child into college and settled in college is over. And now you can really begin to look ahead. Now, like so many institutions, Brown's character was shaped by some very important moments in history. And these were moments when the values that it stands for were forged. And there are two moments that I want to note that I think are especially important. The first one was a very long time ago, and it was when Roger Williams was banished to Rhode Island. This was in 1635, and he was banished for supporting the rights of Indians and religious dissenters. And when this happened, I think the die was really cast. Roger Williams thought differently. He dared to hold a contrarian worldview. And in time, Rhode Island gained a reputation as a sanctuary for people who were really brave enough to stand up, to think for themselves, and to stand up for what they believed. Now, more than a century later, when Brown arose in this very unconventional place for the time, it did so as a welcome haven for forward-looking and open-minded thinkers, students and faculty from a very wide range of backgrounds. And that range of backgrounds has become wider and wider and wider over time. And from that point forward, the university began to chart its own unique pathway to learning. So the second moment that I'll note was when Henry Merritt Riston, who was Brown's 10th president, wrote and distributed to alumni a pamphlet entitled The University College. And this was a document that gave voice to a vital piece of Brown's identity. The University College married the intimacy and the rigor of a liberal arts education with the resources of a major research university. And this idea became Brown's calling card, and it drew generations of independent-minded and intellectually avid students to Providence. So, you know, within these historical moments lies, I hope, the seeds of your child's interest in Brown, with its very distinctive approach to education. And as I see it, Brown is a place where open academic inquiry meets boundless opportunity, and it's a place where your students will, I hope, find what I think of as a Brown difference. And I believe that this Brown difference is driven by three virtues, and I want to talk a little bit about each of them: a vibrant, student-centered academic culture, a strong emphasis on collaboration, and a commitment to impact, a commitment to doing things that matter to the world. And again, let me say a few words about each of these. So student-centered learning first. You know, at Brown, students are the center of a very rich and innovative intellectual environment. Now, all of us who work here, and I see this all the time, even though I'm not in the classroom day in and day out, they are unusually self-motivated in a way that I have never seen anywhere else. And it's really quite terrific. They are confident, they are inventive, they don't see boundaries, even when administrators would sometimes like them to. I've been here for 4 years now, and I can honestly say that Brown students just have this very rare spark, this combination of curiosity and creativity and joy, and it's just breathtaking. And it sets a marvelous tone of possibility on the campus that Brown encourages at every turn. So students at Brown, they don't come here to be taught. They come here to learn. And there's a difference between the two. The first one is passive. The second one is active. And in so many innovative ways, from our open curriculum to crafting independent studies to combining concentrations in really unique ways, Brown students are empowered to take control of their educations. Now, I know that Brown students study hard. They do. But I also know that they study what they love. And this matters deeply because it stokes the spark and affords students the freedom to cultivate their ability to imagine and innovate and map their own journeys. And Brown's approach it sets it apart from other schools. It really does. In fact, a Brown math professor who I was talking to just about a month ago, who's taught at several universities, including one up the road, I won't say which one up the road, but he recently told me that teaching at Brown is more satisfying and more interesting than any teaching he has ever done. And when I asked him why, he said, for the first time, I'm teaching students who actually want to learn mathematics. Seems surprising, but it's true. And similarly, a leading administrator at a peer university, again that I won't name, but this is one with a strong core curriculum, is known to have said that he spends much of his time persuading faculty to teach courses they don't want to teach to students who don't want to learn the material. And there's no joy of learning in this approach, and we do it differently. At Brown, we believe that learning should be a daring adventure, not a forced march. So my second point, collaboration. If you walk over to the Fonts Arch, right over there on the main green, you'll find what we call an entity relationship diagram on display. And this is a data visualization. It's really quite cool. And it shows how different academic departments and centers and institutes relate to each other, how they interact, not spatially, but intellectually. It captures this very distinctive quality at Brown, its insistence on collaboration across people and collaboration across areas of inquiry. And you might ask, well, why at Brown? Why here more than other places? And here's what it says on the diagram, and I'll just read it for you because I think it really captures it. Many aspects of Brown, including our compact campus and open curriculum, help create networks of relationships across departments that interconnect our students and faculty in unexpected and unique ways. This leads to the collaboration that fuels the innovation, high-impact teaching, research, and scholarship that take place at Brown and make a difference in society and the world. And there it is again, this university college idea that Brown is a liberal arts college that's not only placed within a major research university, but it's really integrated into the fabric of a research university. And what this means for the students who are here is that Brown is a place where faculty-student collaboration is prized and encouraged through interdisciplinary scholarship at all levels, in all fields. It means that undergraduate students are in every way full partners with graduate students and faculty. Undergraduates here can and do take graduate courses. They work in research labs. They collaborate with faculty on archival research and archaeological digs. They conduct independent research projects that lead to publishable work. Not every student, certainly, but many, many students at Brown do these things. And it means opportunities everywhere. In internships sponsored by alumni and parents through our Brown Connect platform. If you have some internships, let us know. In our undergraduate teaching and research award program, in initiatives that bring together people from very different areas, engineers with philosophers, biomedical researchers with artists, and in our many academic hubs and centers. And these are things that we're actually building and growing in real time, hiring terrific faculty, increasing financial aid, improving facilities. And I hope that for those of you who are parents of first-year students, you can see these plans and this growth play out while your students are here at Brown. Just a few examples that I think are really quite spectacular. Every summer, our students who receive these undergraduate teaching and research awards, we call them UTRAs. Everything at Brown does have an acronym. You have to get used to it. These students present the results of their work at the end of the summer in this amazing poster session in Sales Hall. And for those of you who have been in sales, you know it's a big hall, big. And ultras have become so widespread that the poster session now runs over 2 days. And you can walk around and you can see the research that students are doing. And the range of what they're doing is just off the charts interesting. Everything from the next generation of solar cells, to the toxicity of e-cigarettes, to the literary origin of Abraham Lincoln's rhetoric. It's all there. And it also means that our undergraduate students often find themselves teaching and mentoring other students, which is a real sign of collaboration. And as we all know, and I can say from personal experience, the very, very best way to master a subject is to teach it to somebody else. And just as an example, we have in computer science an undergraduate teaching assistant program that is so integral to learning that Brown alumni who served as undergraduate TAs in computer science are endowing a $10 million fund to support the program. And I say this just to emphasize how important it was to them. Yeah, it's great. And more generally, students here serve as peer mentors and tutors and advisors across the college, helping their classmates while honing their own knowledge. And it does breed this very collaborative, supportive, and not sharp elbows, competitive type of place that we don't want to have here at Brown. Let me note one other aspect of collaboration that I think is very important and that we value, and that's how we value the importance of diversity, something that Molly noted in her introduction. It's a point of considerable pride here at Brown that we are an energetic and welcoming campus community for people from every conceivable background and every conceivable life experience. And together, this community fashions an unmatched environment where people can look at things from very, very different perspectives, a quality that I believe unequivocally makes us stronger, sharpens the excellence of our academic work, and prepares students to be more effective and more capable when they graduate. So whether it's advancing scientific knowledge or creating new products or companies or devising public policy, Brown has always recognized the value of collaboration among students and faculty from different backgrounds and different areas of expertise. So finally, impact. And this is probably something that everybody here really gets about their students. Brown students are uncommonly driven by the idea that their work will have an impact in the world. It will make a difference in the world somehow, in some way. Not in the same way across students, but it will matter. And when we think about preparing students to solve societal problems, your question might be, well, everybody says they want to do this. Why does Brown do this better? And remember what I said earlier about the students here, and now consider what the world needs at this moment. It needs leaders, but it needs leaders of a certain type. It needs leaders who can work collaboratively across fields with people who are different themselves, who are imaginative, who are innovators, who are learners, and who are doers. And that's exactly the kind of students that we have at Brown. So imagine what it's like to believe that you can break new ground and advance knowledge that will make the world a better place. That's the sort of confidence that we want to instill in our students. Imagine what it's like to know that your university stands for research and learning that can move the world forward. And that is what it's like here. That's what we want it to be like here. And this aspirational quality is something that we treasure in our students. And they do seem innately wired to take on the most vexing societal challenges locally and globally. And today, this inclination towards impact, it shows up in lots of different ways at Brown, and I'm happy to tell you more during Q&A. But you can see it in Brown's new Engaged Scholars program. You can see it in the hundreds of students who connect their classroom learning to service work in communities around Providence. You can see it in our really wonderful summer internship program, in the constructive activism on social issues that permeates campus life and is deeply informed by students' academic experiences. I have learned personally that Brown students are completely fearless when it comes to advocating for changes in university policies. They are completely fearless when it comes to starting new programs and even building those programs into national organizations. They are self-starters who want to put their knowledge to work, as a group of them did just over the past year in working with administrators to launch a new center for first-generation and low-income students, a center that we inaugurated just last month. It's really terrific. And the spirit of wanting to make a difference can be seen throughout the Brown community. It doesn't end when students' time at Brown ends. So take Jay Kumar Menon from the class of 1990, and I'm picking him out just because he recently won a major alumni award at Alumni Weekend. He's an international human rights lawyer, he's a scholar, he's a social entrepreneur. Jay Kumar has pioneered creative strategies like crowdsourcing and innovation prizes to promote novel development solutions aimed at providing the world's poor with food and water and access to health care. And his approach, which is inventive and collaborative and aspirational, is just vintage Brown. That's one example. I could give you many, many more. Now, when Brown professor Michael Kosterlitz was awarded the 2016 Nobel Prize in Physics a few weeks ago, there was jubilation on College Hill for his historic achievement. It was really just a wonderful, wonderful day, and the glow is still going. It's true that not all of us were quick to understand the details of his research on the topological properties of matter. I'm still working on it. But we did understand and appreciate that Professor Kosterlitz has literally expanded the boundaries of knowledge. And that's just the start of it. You know, it could well be any of your children who pick up a strand of this groundbreaking research in the years ahead, who wrestle with it, who build an interdisciplinary team of engineers and scientists and entrepreneurs, ethicists might be a good thing too, and who pioneer a new highly conductive material that powers the quantum computing of the future. You see, although Brown was built on a city overlooking, on a hill overlooking the city of Providence, the world around it has always been very much in view. And so preparing people, your students, our students, who are capable of navigating it, who are capable of opening pathways to improve it, and who are capable of having profound impact on the greater good. Well, Brown is really, really good at this. So all of this is to say that Brown is different. It is special. I've been around academia all my life, and there's simply no other place like it. And I need only recall a student who graduated just last spring. This is a young woman who won a Royce Fellowship and a Fulbright Fellowship. She led a student organization for women in the sciences. She was fiercely recruited by 2 top PhD programs in cancer epidemiology, all while working 20 hours a week selling sneakers at a shop on Thayer Street. And she came to Brown as a first-gen student, the first in her extended family to go to college. And I'll tell you, when that family came to see the graduation, it's just an extraordinary moment when that kind of thing happens. What she found at Brown is what your children will find at Brown, and I hope they're already finding it. A place of open academic inquiry and unlimited opportunity, and a place where intellectual motivation and a collaborative spirit and a desire to impact the world can all come together. So to close, it was Brown's 4th president, Francis Wayland, who insisted that, and I paraphrase, students should be able to study what they choose, all that they choose, and nothing but what they choose. This was the original open curriculum. And I think we have for a very, very long time honored this idea. We don't confine students with boundaries. We present them with opportunities. Learning is, after all, a daring adventure. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank your children for entrusting Brown with their college experience. I'm confident that you will come to believe in Brown as I do because of how it prepares students to lead lives of consequence. And again, if you haven't been welcomed to the family already, welcome to the family. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I look forward to seeing you on campus, and have a great time. Thank you. Now, we do have time for a few questions. I have some of my colleagues in the front row. If you throw questions at me that I can't answer, I can give them to our provost or our dean of the college, vice president for campus life, or assistant vice president for campus life. And you'll have some opportunities to ask more questions of deans and other people over the course of the weekend. But for now, if you have a question, I think we have microphones on either side. So please come forward and ask. Because the light's bright, but somebody has to ask a question. Come on. Okay, good.
When will the engineering building be finished?
Okay, so the question is, when will the engineering building be done? So the engineering building, many of you may have seen it. It's going up. It's actually going to be extraordinary. It'll have a clean room in the basement, not the basement, the lower level, excuse me. A wonderful cafe, great lab spaces, just state of the art. The outside is basically up. It has about a year and 3 months to go. You would think, I sort of thought naively that once the outside was done, it would only take a few months to finish up the inside. But this is actually a very complex technical building, and we're really looking forward to it being done. It'll be terrific for students and for faculty. Thank you. Any other questions?
Hi, over here. To your left.
Okay. Sorry, the lights are in my eyes. I really can't see the audience very well. Over there, great.
Not really a question, but just a comment. My son had the choice of Princeton or Brown. I'm glad you both decided on Brown.
Thank you very much.
We're seniors this year, so we came when you did, I guess.
Okay,
so
good.
Thank you.
Terrific. Thanks very much for that. I love it. I won't tell Chris Eisgruber, who's now president of Princeton and a good friend. Good. Okay.
Can you
any other questions?
Yeah, right here.
Yes.
Can you speak a little bit about the new Center for Entrepreneurship and ways that the undergraduates here can interact with that?
Yes, I can, and I'd love to, actually. So we just recently launched a new Center for Entrepreneurship. It's the Jonathan M. Nelson Center for Entrepreneurship. And Danny Warshay, who's a professor who's a practice entrepreneur himself, who's been here for some time and is an incredibly popular teacher, is the first director of that center. And in a way, it's doing a couple things. One is it's pulling together a lot of entrepreneurial activity that has been at Brown for years and years. It's not like we're starting from scratch. We have vibrant programs, the EP program for undergraduates. We have a prime program for graduate students. So it's pulling that together. This is its first year. It's very much a startup itself. And it's in temporary space now in Hillel. It'll move to new space hopefully soon. But the idea of the Entrepreneurship Center is to have a strong academic core where students can take a sequence of courses that teach them just fundamentals if they want to consider entrepreneurship or even want to learn about entrepreneurship and how they can be entrepreneurial within organizations. It extends to both for-profit as well as social entrepreneurship. Students don't really distinguish between the two anymore. It's very interesting. And then the idea is on top of that to provide lots of opportunities to bring in entrepreneurs in residence, visiting entrepreneurs. We will be drawing heavily on our great alumni and parent community to do that, and also creating opportunities for summer internships and other things, real support for ventures that students are starting. So again, watch it develop. It's going to take some time to play out, but I'm very excited about this, and I think it'll nest really well with what's already in a very, very entrepreneurial community. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, I have a question. So I have two Rice University graduates in my family, and our daughter is a sophomore here at Brown. And I've noticed our Rice graduates, as they enter their professions, have an unbelievable network of fellow Rice alumni that they team up with in cities all over the country and continue forward into their lives. And it's pretty remarkable, and I wondered if you have observed that kind of thing here at Brown.
Yes, absolutely yes. If you talk to Brown alumni, and it's something I do very often, what you see is that, people have connections that they forged here as students that can just continue throughout their lives. And you'll see on graduation, little pods of them will move to Brooklyn and San Francisco and different cities, and they're living together. So that's one thing. The other thing, though, that's quite remarkable is that Brown alumni are very engaged with supporting it and connecting to other Brown alumni across generations. And, one of the reasons that we started this Brown Connect program just a couple years ago, it's really new, is that now every Brown student, we've loaded in all of the alumni information. It's an opt-out system, not an opt-in system. And students can search for alumni in really interesting ways. So if you say, I want to know who's doing, cybersecurity in Minnesota, right? Maybe nobody is, but it'll pop up, right? And that way, what students can do is they can reach out to and start connecting with Brown alumni and exploring those connections even before they leave campus. We thought of Brown Connect, it was envisioned really just as an internship program that would connect current students to alumni, and we're finding that as students graduate, they're saying, wait a second, you can't take my Brown Connect away from me. So it's morphing actually into a digital alumni connector over time. But those connections have been around for a long time. So I think that it's great that your first two children are finding wonderful communities among Rice alumni. I expect that you will find exactly the same thing, hopefully even more, when your Brown student graduates. You're welcome. Maybe we have time for one or two more questions. Are there any more? Yes.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity. I'm a proud father of an undergraduate student here. So my question is regarding university ratings. What is your take on world university ratings? That's the first part. And second is Brown doing something, to increase its rating or whatever, something like that?
So this is about rankings, right? Ratings. And the thing that's interesting is, for some reason, I don't know what's going on, the number of rankings is just exploding, right? There are multiple international rankings. There's US News, there's Times, there's a new Wall Street Journal ranking. And the thing that I find really telling and interesting is that, while Brown does really well in some and pretty well in others, there's some variation. The rankings of universities, the ones that are in the top 10 or top 15, is often wildly different across these rankings. And that in itself sort of tells you the problem with rankings, which is the rankings only reflect the data that are put in, and they only reflect the weightings of different types of data that the people who created the rankings choose to give. So, in a lot of international rankings, it's interesting, that are more research focused, there's a heavy emphasis on measures that reflect the scale, the sheer size of the university. And Brown isn't going to do that well in those rankings because we pack a punch given our size, but we're not huge. And frankly, we don't want to be huge. Rankings that put a lot of emphasis on the quality of teaching and the quality of the academic experience, Brown does really well on those. US News has sub-rankings in between that make up the composite, and you'll see that Brown does very, very well on the things that reflect academic quality. Something I'm trying to change is that it doesn't do quite as well on things like endowment per student. We punch above our weight. I would like that to change, so we punch even more above our heavier weight. But so the point here is I take them with a grain of salt. I think they're important for some students. I don't put that much faith in them. I think it's more important for us to aspire to excellence and do what we think is best for Brown. it doesn't mean we should be complacent. But thank you for that. Do you find that they're important, or? Good.
I'm confused like many others. What these rankings are all about.
Right, and they're only, I mean, literally, they reflect the views of the people who construct them about what makes for a good university or a good college. And if you don't share those views, they're meaningless to you. So, yeah, thank you. Maybe one more question if there is one.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for that wonderful talk you gave. It was excellent.
Thank you.
One of the questions I have kind of relates to rankings. I'm the father of a first-year student here, and he had many choices. And for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned, he decided to come to Brown. And one of the things that stuck in his mind, and when I did all my research and looking at rankings, one of the things that seemed to be coming over and over again every year was that Brown always ranked very high in student happiness and how happy the students are here.
Yeah.
And being in several institutions like you have been and being in other administrations, why do you think that other administrations and other universities are not trying to adopt the same philosophies that Brown has in not just academic rigor, but also in the happiness of students?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because sometimes, the happiness rankings in some ways cut two ways. I think some people see those rankings, frankly, and say, well, if they're that happy, they must not be working very hard, right? And I don't think that's true. I know how hard Brown students study. They're really serious about their work. And I think the happiness, I think of it more as joy than happiness. And it's this sense of, I love what I'm doing. I love my classes. I love my friends. And that collaboration, that openness just breeds something that's really quite wonderful. I don't know. I came from, before I came to Brown, a university with a strong core curriculum, one that was more confining, one that was more competitive. And for 25 years, I thought that was how universities had to be. And when I came to Brown, I discovered that we could do something that is really interesting and I think ultimately much better. So I've become very, very sold on the Brown approach. But I don't know, maybe if more people from other universities sent their kids to Brown, they would figure it out. But I'm happy to keep it as our secret. That's fine. Good. Thank you very much. We will have the concert back here.